There was a lot of interesting scenes in last night's episode that we are going to definitely be discussing in this episode. I'll be back in just a second. What is going on, everyone? This is Ninja Geek here, and we are bringing you another episode of The Walking Dead Reviews. We're reviewing episode 11 called The Distance. Obviously, we got some Advanced Warfare gameplay in the background, or whatever gameplay I choose, but no footage because that's copyright. We all know that that's bad for YouTube, bad for everyone, so I got some pictures, as always, like I do. So we're going to get started. So last episode that we saw in them, episode 10 of season 5, and by the way, season 5 is becoming one of my favorite seasons of all time, just because it has some really, really great episodes, and I love the writing and everything that was done in season 5 so far. And so basically last episode what happened is this random stranger at the end of the episode came up. We had no idea, predictions, we didn't know, I really didn't know at all what was going to happen in this episode. So we got to kind of see this character, and we got to kind of see him, you know, move up. We get to see what he's, you know, done, like his side of things and how he portrays it, because you don't know the stranger. You know, when you see a stranger on the side of the road, you don't think, oh, I'm going to be his friend the minute that you see him, you know, especially in this world that they live in today. So Maggie and Sasha obviously bring him back to Rick. He is very cautious of him, he doesn't trust this guy at all, especially through what Rick and the whole group in general has been put through, you know. This is like a moment where it's just like, no, I'm not going to trust this guy, because, you know, Rick has been through so many instances before where he trusts people and they just let him down, and he doesn't want that to happen again, especially now since he has Judith, a baby, and his son Carl, you know, both, all his family, except obviously Lori, which died in season 3, but he has all of his family with him. You know, he doesn't want anything to happen to that, so he is being very protective. You know, obviously in this world that they live in now, they have to be protective. It's not like they could live any differently if they don't do that. So, you know, I mean, even he goes as far to saying that, you know, Aaron, I mean, at least offers him apple juice when Judith is crying, and Rick makes him test it out before he actually gives it to Judith, because, you know, why would you want to poison your own daughter, so to speak, you know? Aaron has a good point saying that, you know, well, if I was going to kill you, I would have already done it already and all that stuff. Obviously, still not going to trust anyone who says that, so, you know, obviously he wants to make sure that it's not poison, so he gives it to Aaron. Aaron eats it, even though he hates applesauce. He eats it, and Rick gives it to Judith, because, you know, that's how you have to be these days, protective. Now, along those lines with protection, you know, Aaron really hasn't shown any signs that he was lying. It's not like he said something and it was completely different. Everything he said wasn't a lie. There was a safe place called Alexandria. There were cars on the highway. He was with an extra person. So we get to see that it is that Aaron is actually telling the truth so far within this episode. I don't know how the other episodes are obviously going to go, but Aaron is telling the truth. He doesn't seem like a bad guy, and Michonne kind of sees this in him, or sees, you know, that she wants to actually be able to trust him, because everything that he says, Rick is just like, you know what, no, I'm not going to trust in him. And then Michonne just tries to go against Rick and say, well, you know what, we need to trust this guy. I think that he's telling the truth. I don't think that he's lying and stuff like that. So he basically, you know, is, you know, doing that. And that is the whole situation there, is that Rick doesn't want to trust this guy. Michonne kind of does. It's kind of like, it's not like a fight, but it's more like an intervention, an intertwined problem that needs to be solved. And, you know, along the way, Rick eventually, you know, just chooses to just move along. He's not like entirely like, okay, let's do it. He just chooses to move along with the decisions that are made. There also a little part, because obviously after Michonne and Glenn and Maggie and Abraham and Rosita checked out this highway where the cars were, and they brought him back. They want to go to this place because, you know, that he obviously wasn't lying about that. They want to continue on to move on to this actual place called Alexandria, because, you know, they want to find out. They're not just going to stay in some old barn for the rest of their time, or even move on to just Washington without just even knowing what this place is. So Rick just, again, kind of just moves along with the idea after he finds that everything seems to be safe and stable for now. And along the way, the RV is actually running low on, on battery. So, you know, Abraham thinks that they're going to be able to make it, and then they show another scene. They're stopped. They don't know what to do. The battery is dead. Abraham's like, well, where are we going to find another battery? And Glenn just lifts up another compartment and says, there's your battery. And he's like, how did you know that? Well, that scene right there is a memorable moment, if you remember, from season 2, because Dale always had an RV. He always, he was teaching Glenn these special tips on, how to maintain an RV and how to maintain his special RV. So he kind of already knew this, and it kind of pulled the memory back all the way from season 2 to now, and I thought that was a very interesting, memorable event. That was probably my favorite part of the whole episode, just that one little part right there. You wouldn't think a little part could be a huge part in a way, but it is. So the next part is that they're kind of driving. It's getting towards nighttime. They decide to go out towards nighttime. They're more vulnerable at night from the walkers, but at the same time, they're less vulnerable if this Alexandria group tries to attack or anything bad happens like that. So they move at night. They move at the time. And also, speaking of the night scene, there was this cool aerial view. We're going to talk about how they shot it in just a second, but there was a cool aerial view of the car in general, but the car, washing through this just wave of just endless zombies or endless walkers, it seemed like, and it was really cool how they filmed that. I would imagine so as they shot it, and the way that they filmed these car scenes going through the nighttime like that was they actually used a stationary car and keyed in the backgrounds as they needed them. I don't know exactly where they got the backgrounds from. They obviously filmed the backgrounds before or after that, and they put them in there, but very cool scene altogether, and I really enjoyed that. But obviously after that happens, they get trapped. They're basically like trapped, and they can't like go anywhere. In front of them is walkers, behind them is just like endless just waves. They don't know where to go. They run into the woods. It was just a first instinct thing. It's not like they had a choice. There was only really one direction to go, so they run through the woods. They had to leave the car there. There was just nowhere to go. I mean, it was just a quick choice thing, into the woods, and boom, they get surrounded. Glenn almost got bit in there because the woods is just a very secluded place, I guess you could say. It's not like a place that you would enjoy to go to, especially even at nighttime, let alone that. They're just getting ambushed, and Glenn almost gets bit. Luckily, it hits him. The walker hits him, and he turns around in time to kill him. They recollect after they get into the woods. They do that. Rick, obviously, in the beginning of the episode, he takes the flare gun from Aaron, uses it, just triggers instantly on a zombie. That scene was cool. They also showed how they did that. They filmed that in the Talking Dead episode after The Walking Dead came on, so it was very cool, the effects that they used to film the flare gun zombie or the flare gun walker. And they were able to light up the area enough so that they could actually see what was going on. Glenn and Aaron ended up taking out the rest, continued on their way. Without that flare, I don't think they would have even been able to see. They might have even gotten trapped without that flare. So lucky that Aaron had a flare gun with him. I guess it came in handy that one time that they needed it, but that was also another interesting scene. So now it kind of all ties together. The group arrives with each other. They end up finding the RV again. They find, each other. I don't know how. They just choose to go in one direction, and they find it. Also, Aaron meets up with his pal Eric, and, from what we could tell, they really love each other. They're really, they're glad that they saved each other, and that's how it all went down. Aaron is just truly grateful that they ended up saving him. Apparently, he got some kind of like leg injury, but overall is completely fine. And then in the morning, since it's very late at night now, they're not going to travel again at night knowing what just happened. They stay there, wait till morning to go to Alexandria, and they're just driving along. At the end scene, they get to Alexandria. Rick hears actual children playing in the background. He has a sense of hope, but honestly, what's going to happen? We don't know what is going to happen with this place. It could be just like another terminus. It could be like another Woodbury, or it could be a home like the prison was. Who knows? The prison was secured for a season and a half, from the beginning of season 3 to the mid-season finale of season 4. The prison was very secure. It was the home, people could call it a home that lived there. And that could be this place. It's surrounded by like heavy duty walls and stuff like that, or it could go completely the opposite way. And honestly, I have no opinion right now because Aaron seemed to be telling the truth. It seems all legit, but then in the previews we see Carl having some trouble. We don't know. They usually like to show off a lot of the stuff, but it does seem like a very interesting place. So leave your thoughts in the comment section below and this week's episode of The Walking Dead Reviews, and I will see you on whatever my next video happens to be. I'm Ninja Geek. I'm out. Peace.